Russ, you've been part of 2 SEC championships.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you look at this Georgia team, let's take it back to the offense now.
Yes.
We see Stetson Bennett going in. JT Daniels has been injured throughout, on and off throughout the season. Is Stetson Bennett going to be enough to win an SEC championship, or do you have to get JT back in the fold and healthy and have that group come together before you get to the championship?
I think if Georgia's quarterback has to be the deciding factor for them this year, something's going wrong. Everywhere else, I heard you guys talking about in the segment before about Stetson kind of being a game manager. If you look at the numbers, they don't really say that. Like, he throws the ball downfield as much as anybody in the conference does. His numbers downfield are really, really good. 10-plus yard passes, 20-plus yard passes. He completes them at a high level, and he has guys there. Now, it doesn't hurt. There's guys wide open a lot of times.
He doesn't have to throw it as many times as other people. So that's why you see the stats and think, oh, they're throwing it 13 times a game. So it's a game manager, even though he's completing some big passes.
But he's hitting big plays. And the thing that we love as a fan base watching him is, like, the thing that he brings a little bit different, right? You got to find your strengths with anybody that plays, no matter who's in the game. Stetson can run. He's not a Justin Fields type guy who's going to beat you with the running game. But if things break down, he can scramble. Last week he took off running. We're yelling at me, get down, slide. Okay, go. So, he's got a little bit of wiggle to him, got a little bit of escapability to him, and that adds another dimension to the offense that's hard for those other guys to stop.
What were you expecting Arkansas to bring here versus
more
what
than
you
they did?
I mean, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Everyone thought Georgia would win the game, but not 37-0.
Georgia made Arkansas one-dimensional really quickly, right?
21-0 early.
Yeah. And that happened because I think Arkansas rushed for like 2 yards. Like, I'm sure you guys have somebody that tells us stats around here. Maybe in my ear. I've never had somebody tell me something
like less.
So if they could do that.
2 yards sounds right. Let's go with that.
So, they shut that down so fast that Arkansas did not have a chance to run the ball. And if you go one-dimensional against a team as talented as Georgia is, it's a long day for you. So I think Arkansas is better than – they probably weren't as good as everybody was giving them credit for that week. They're not as bad as they look against Georgia in there. So, I think everybody expected it to be a little bit closer game, maybe, 31-10, 40-20. But it was just absolute beatdown, which I'm all for it.
What's the pulse of the Georgia alum and fan of who they want to be the starting quarterback? Are they rooting for, the more high-end talent, at least coming out of high school, and JT Daniels, or is everyone really rooting for Stetson Bennett to assert himself in this job and continue to be the starter?
Right. I think Stetson could retire tomorrow and run for mayor of Athens and win, right? He's already a cult hero just for, he's nicknamed the mailman. He's a 2-star, no-star walk-on. He has a curly head of hair. He's got moxie, all that. But he's won a lot of games for Georgia. I think the only reason people don't want Stetson in is because he doesn't have the stars. Like, fans are infatuated how many stars a guy has. Like, you got a 5-star on the bench? What the freak is wrong with Kirby?
They're worried about him leaving. That's why.
They're worried about him leaving.
Yeah.
But what has Stetson done? He's done nothing but win since he's been in there. Georgia fans like to talk about he was the only quarterback that was beating Alabama at halftime last year. So it's not that he can't play in big games and go. So, I think it's split. I think everybody hopes that the 5-star guy is going to be your guy and come in and change the entire landscape of what an offense looks like by throwing bombs, throwing lasers, doing this, doing that, making a defense have absolute no shot of stopping you. But a lot of people love Stetson Bennett.
Well, and you mentioned moxie, right? And you've been around a lot of locker rooms.
Yeah.
When you had a guy, you played with a guy in David Green.
Yeah.
Moxie. That's the top of the list is what you think about him. But guys gravitate towards that. Offensive linemen gravitate towards it. I'm not saying JT Daniels doesn't have it.
Sure.
But when you get hold of that locker room and guys want to play for you, there's a big difference, right?
It's a huge difference. And when you talk to people around the program and all that, by the way, they love JT Daniels. So he's not a California prima donna 5-star guy that is disconnected from the team. Like,
he's not now. I saw him at USC.
Maybe he was
he's
then.
Changed.
Maybe so.
He's settled down a lot since
Maybe so.
then. He
Personal
got away
growth.
from home and
Personal
he
growth.
But if you hear people talk about it,
now.
and if you see some guys around with connection to the program today, they'll tell you he watches film, he works hard, he's a great teammate. So there's no anybody pulling against JT Daniels. And I've been in locker rooms before where you don't like a guy. He's kind of a turd. So that's not the case with JT Daniels. But to your point, like, if a guy steps in and has confidence in himself and performs, guys follow him. They asked Stetson a few weeks ago after the game. They're like, hey, Stet, is there any team you don't feel like you could beat as a starting quarterback? He's like, maybe the 49ers.
That's a great line.
We
Great
love
answer.
that guy.
Yeah.
So.
You're right, though. It's difficult not to love that story and that guy.